Hi kids, and welcome to another edition of Sci-Fi Review. In this installment, we're going to be talking about the new movie that just hit Netflix called Space Sweepers. Stay tuned. So Space Sweepers is a new movie from Netflix. It just came out. It's a South Korean movie, which kind of gives you a little hint where it's going. There's a certain vibe you get from these East Asian movies that you can't get anywhere else. It's called Space Sweepers. I think the original title was translated from the Korean was Victory, which is the name of this ship that these people are on. But I'm getting ahead of myself already. So we're in a future where planet Earth is pretty well screwed. It's pollution, whatever. I'm not sure they really said, but basically life on Earth is garbage. There are gobs of rich people on these little floating flat Earth islands around in orbit that are run by a corporation called UTS. In a minute. Everybody else kind of just operates in orbit, and this story revolves around a group of people that are like salvage, you can call them junkers, whatever you want to call them. They operate spaceships collecting all the space debris that's collected over the years. It kind of is a cool setup when you think about it, because if we start getting to this point where things are in orbit all the time, there's going to be space debris causing major problems. And I like the way that this movie sets up with that actually it makes sense from a science fiction point of view. It's not like just completely made up in bullshit. It actually, you think about that and you go, yeah, that actually makes some sense, doesn't it? But anyway, this UTS corporation is run by a guy named Sullivan, played by Richard Armitage. Now, if you're watching this movie and going, where have I seen this guy before? I said this, where have I seen this guy before? Imagine him about 3 feet shorter with a big beard and a few other guys that look the same. Yeah, he was Thorin from the Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. And honestly, the guy sounds and kind of looks very similar to Sean Bean. And I'm sitting here going, why am I thinking that that's him? That's not him. It's not. It's yeah, he does. I don't know what it is. It's his accent. It's just some of the things he does. It makes me think that's him. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. But like I said, this movie's named after the Korean name is, if I understand it correctly, I may be full of crap. Called the Victory. That's the ship that's run by this girl named Captain Jang. Got another guy on the ship that calls himself Tiger Park. Another guy on there, his name is Tae-Ho. And there's this robot called Bubs, which reminds me a lot, and I don't know if this was on purpose or accidental or what. He reminds me a lot of K2SO from Rogue One. It's just the mannerisms they give him. He just makes me think of K2SO. So part of this is this big ball that they call the factory, which is like a space junk processing facility, basically. That'll be important later. So this ship, the Victory, they are out cruising for, trash, and they're having to fight other junkers for the trash, and, they're kind of friends with them, but they're kind of competing with them all at the same time. It makes for kind of an interesting little ecosystem right there. But they find this little girl inside this shipwreck. Nobody knows who she is, but we quickly learn that she is, in fact, a robot. Not exactly. That's the first thing they hear, that she's a robot and she's basically a walking bomb. And they're like, oh crap, what do we do? So the plot revolves around getting this girl back to whoever owns the robot. Come to find out she's not actually a robot, but a girl that has had, I don't know what you want to call it, infestation or a augmentation or what, but these little nanobots that they kind of allude to in other parts of the story that make her basically invincible and give her special powers over things. And her name is, originally they call her Dorothy. We find out they find her actual father. They find her father, find out her actual name is Kotnam. I don't know. Korean, that might mean something. I don't know. But the goal is to get this kid back to her father. And that doesn't go so well. I'm not going to spoil everything in the story for you. That doesn't go so well, but we come to find out during the rest of the story that Sullivan has plans for Earth. Basically, he's going to blow up the factory, crash it to Earth, and make all his people living in his little floating flat Earth dome cities are going to be the people that are left on Earth, and everybody else that is left on Earth is basically screwed because it'll be an extinction level event, wipe everything out. Here's the deal. I actually like this movie, and I liked it a lot, and here's why, and I'll tell you what was wrong with it after I tell you why I liked it. I thought the story was actually decent. I went into this, I was skeptical. I saw the previews, and I'm like, man, that looks weird, and it looks silly, and I'm not sure I'm going to like it. I'm thinking I'm going to try and pan it. I couldn't. I'm sitting here watching this going, this is kind of fun, guys. This is great. I mean, like I said, the story, it actually makes sense. It's not just complete made up. It actually has a bit of, truth to it, which good science fiction does. Another thing that's great about this movie, I gotta admit, the effects are actually pretty awesome. I sat here watching this movie going, wow, they went over and above in these special effects. You watch these shots with all the stuff going on in them, and it is actually really good stuff. Wasn't left sitting there going, man, that's ridiculous, that's crazy, that's ludicrous, that makes no sense. You sit there and you go, yeah, that actually, wow, cool, Can't complain about the special effects. And like I said, the story, the pacing, the acting by and large is good, and I'll get to that in a second, by pretty much everybody. I mean, I'm sitting here watching this going, wow, I can't complain about anything about this movie. And here we go on the bad part, except for one thing, and I think it's the writing, and this has to do with Sullivan/Armitage specifically. The writing, I think, especially where his character involved, is really stilted, and I think he had to use what he was given, which he does a decent job with, but his role especially is written really weirdly. And I'm wondering if that has to do with maybe like translation issues. I don't know. It seemed like his lines were just, you'd listen to him talking while he deliver them, in freaking Shakespearean flourish and everything else. It was like, well, that's cool, but they were just like, huh? Some of his, it was a little too grandiose, a little too Shakespeare-y for my taste, but maybe that was part of, translating that from the Korean, something got lost there, and it was, I don't know. His role especially, the writing was a little weird, and like I said, the translations, I don't understand a word of Korean, so the subtitles, you kind of left sitting there going, well, okay. And I recommend that you do watch this in the original Korean with the subtitles on, because there are many languages that are used throughout this. There's one character in particular, I can't remember his name, he's one of the other junker types, who is speaking some kind of weird English dialect, and without the subtitles, there's no way you're going to understand what the heck he's saying. I don't know if this is some kind of, I honestly don't know what that would be, if some kind of Central American, Caribbean type of Haitian, I don't know. It's just a very strange dialect that he's using, and you can catch like words out of it, but the rest of it you're looking at, what? And without the subtitles, you got no freaking clue what he's saying. There's a guy that speaks a lot of French. I think there was some Russian being used. If you switch that over to English, I'm sure I didn't even bother. I'm sure that's all overdubbed and junk, and everything's in, bad overdub English. Everybody in the movie, they explain this away. Everybody's got, these little babblefish devices in their ears, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, that works. I can deal with that, and it just works. I can't complain. Like I said, the effects are great. The story, is like, oh yeah, that's cool, and it all gels together at the end, especially for this big, grandiose ending. I'm not going to spoil it. Trust me, it's a little bit of a twist. If you didn't see it coming, you're like, oh, I should have seen that coming. Yeah, but like I said, I'm not going to spoil that. I'm going to give Space Sweepers victory. Translate. I'm not even going to try to say what the original Korean the title is supposed to sound like. I'm not even going to try, because I will butcher it and offend a bunch of people. I'm not even going to do it. I'm going to give this a 3.9. I'm going to go high. Like I said, the trailers, the previews made it look really goofy. I've seen a lot of J/K, movies in the sci-fi fantasy genre, and they are just really weird and over the top, and You just look at that and you go, what the heck were you thinking? What kind of drugs were you on when you made this? Not this one. Not this one at all. I like this movie, Space Sweepers on Netflix, 3.9. Day like today where it's raining, freezing rain, just park your butt on the couch, spend 2 hours watching Space Sweepers. This has been Sci-Fi Review.